I wonder, do you think there can be a link that's drawn between individualism and the homeless pandemic? Because, and I'll put myself in this bracket. I've been in Leeds for 4 years. I've seen the homeless, and it's not something that's unique to Leeds. It's something that's almost worldwide. But when I saw them and before I started this journey, I would see them as an individual failure rather than a potential failure of the system. And I wonder if I was so in the matrix that I couldn't actually step back a little and maybe see that there was nuance there and understand different reasons why they might be in the current situation they are in, and how near enough any of us can get to that situation with a couple of missteps. And I was wondering, do you think that individualism that we kind of celebrate in the West leads to our lack of compassion when we see the homeless on the streets?
There's something fascinating in this. There have been two really excellent books come out around homelessness this year. One of them I wrote, and the other one is by an investigative journalist, Maeve McClenaghan, called No Fixed Abode. And one of the things that she says in that is she cites a piece of research which happened a few years ago, done by a guy called Lasana Harris. And he found, by putting people in an MRI scanner and looking at their brain, seeing which bits lit up, and then showed them images of all sorts of things, but including someone who was homeless. And he found that the bits of the brain which reacted to seeing the image of a homeless person were not those which react on seeing another human being. They were those which react on seeing an object. Now, that says a huge, huge amount. He said also, which was just delightful, there was a way to short circuit that and get the person to be seen as a person again. And you ask the person who's being scanned, do you think they'd prefer carrot or broccoli? And that puts them back in the human frame. Now, something very particular happens with that. In terms of what happens politically, dear God, my dad had two friends, one of whom said, if you're a Christian, then you really ought to be a conservative. And the other said, I don't see how you can be a Christian unless you're a socialist. One was Margaret Thatcher and the other was Lord Soper. My dad knew them both. In fact, she used to come to my dad's church in Finchley every now and again and listen to his sermons. I blame him for a lot, you know. Again, within different political systems, there is a capacity for compassion. Even when it's hard to see, it must be somewhere there in Donald Trump. God knows.
Absolutely, Roger. And I think this has come a nice full circle, because now that you brought a beautiful quote, I have to bring a beautiful quote also. But the link is, earlier you talked about the idea of looking at someone and seeing that this obvious flaw that I see in this person, this could be potentially me. And I think very few people see that. I think very few people think that really could be me. And then you talked about compassion. And there's this wonderful quote that I found this year. And it says, it goes, if only it were so simple. If only there were evil people somewhere committing evil deeds, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. And who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? I think this quote.
Oh, I love that. Hey, can you send me that? Who is it?
I'll absolutely send it to you. It's from a Russian author called Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that.
Solzhenitsyn.
Yes.
Solzhenitsyn, da. Нет, говорил по-русски. But Solzhenitsyn is fantastic. I mean, he has that same Russian dark soul as Shostakovich. He's a sort of literary equivalent. And in the 70s, he was one of the people he wrote the Gulag Archipelago, particularly, which was it was sort of central to who we were coming to being and growing up as students in those days. That psychologically, the Primal Scream, Art Yanov, we all got off and thought, oh, if we could only go to his clinic in California, we'd all be healed. Well, I can tell you things ended pretty badly there, but that's another thing. Yeah. Thank you for that quote. That's just lovely.
Because it just came to mind when you were talking about this need for compassion, this ability to see the flaw of somebody else potentially in us, and that when we deny that flaw could potentially be a part of us, we are kind of cutting ourselves off from ourselves.
And we want to do it because we want to be good little boys and girls. You know, we want mommy and daddy to love us, and the rest of the world can do it if they can't. That's why you have to say, I'm the greatest president that's ever been seen. I am the best at every last thing, you know. It's all about that. But actually, to acknowledge the flaws that are there. The traditional words of confession, you know, have a lot of value. Bless me, Father, I have sinned. It sets the ground where you are. And then remember what the priest says at the end, go and pray for me, also a sinner. We're all in this together. Yeah. Yeah. There's a wonderful thing I'm reading at the moment. Yes. This is the founder of the House for Sinners and Saints by an American Lutheran minister called Nadia Bolz-Weber. It has a picture of her arms on the front of the book. Can you see that there? For our listeners, I should say it's an arm that's covered in tattoos. And one chapter in the book is called, for example, he's a fuck up, but he's our fuck up. And yeah. You see how important the word fuck has been for my salvation. Yeah.
And for all of ours, I think. And for all of ours.
I think so. One way and another. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was wondering, you talk about that object, how we see them as an object, we see homeless people as an object, and I think, like Jim said, there's a part that we try to shut it off from ourselves, and maybe we don't see them as us, or what maybe. I think there's another part where maybe it scares us that we could potentially be that way. If you ever speak to someone who's selling a big issue or whatever, they often had, you know, good careers or whatever the case may be. And like I said, sometimes through their own misfortune or sometimes through something that had no control over, here they are selling a big issue on a cold winter's night. And that can scare us, I think, because we're so built into this notion of working, saving, buying a house, getting a mortgage, blah, blah, blah. And to see that these people were in the same rat race and here they are can be a really scary thought.